Tonight, raw emotion on the steps of Confederation Building.
My son is dead!
I have first personal knowledge that there's an awful lot of law enforcement people and an awful lot of government officials who think addiction is a choice.
We're looking for answers and solutions.
I want help. Yes, I'm doing this on my own, but I'm crying and I'm begging because I need help.
People share their personal struggles with addiction and mental health during a protest this afternoon.
Hundreds of wind turbines, thousands of potential jobs. World Energy GH2 submits its environmental impact statement. We'll break it all down for you tonight. The Education Minister gives an update on childcare and early learning.
And there are currently 8,300 childcare spaces operating at $10 a day or lower throughout the province.
More coming up on Here and Now.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. A mother whose son died of an overdose in St. John's last month is continuing her calls for better addiction support. Tina Olivero's 20-year-old son, Ben, was one of around a dozen people who recently died because of fentanyl-laced drugs. Olivero held a protest outside Confederation Building today. Here and Now's Henrika Wilhelm was there.
I don't want to talk about wait times. I'm talking about detox to treatment, treatment to a safe, sober home. That's it. Nothing in between. That's what we're fighting for.
One mother's fight has turned into that of hundreds, many with personal experience. Loved ones with addictions, some lost.
I came here today because the addictions problem in this country is out of hand, but this is our province and it's getting out of control. With 16 people dead in a month, and some of them probably wanted to get clean.
I'm here to fight for my son that I lost April the 28th, 23.
He had depressions and he was trying to fight depressions, and he thought the drugs would try to help him ease depression, but basically it didn't help. It just made him worse.
My grandson, Tyler Dove, passed away due to an overdose of cocaine that was probably laced. We buried him a few days ago, so we're here to, in his name, to try and change the help for drug-addicted young people. And there is no help. They get out of jail or they get out of hospital and they go back on the street and they just repeat over and over again.
They all came together with the same goal, better supports for people with mental health and addictions issues.
It was okay, he went to treatment, he got off the drugs, but when you come out, there's no follow-up. So then you don't have great coping skills, and what you do is you go back to that. Or, like somebody else said, not having a psychiatrist.
If you want to get clean, there should be steps. You go to detox, you come out, they'll put you into another spot while you wait for your rehab, and then after the rehab, maybe an extension on rehab, but we've got to come up with something. Something's got to change, because what we're doing now just isn't working.
Nobody's ever really helped him. Nobody ever did what needed to be done. They just lock him away, give you some medication and say, go on your merry way. That's it. Nothing we can do, sorry.
Several ministers attended the rally, and while they offered empathy and support, the protesters wanted more.
We're sinking, and our government is not throwing us anything to float with. And that is the bottom line. So if you can't sit up there and say what your government is going to do for we the people that pay ye, then you should walk away.
It was an emotional rally here today with many tears from the dozens and dozens of protesters. And while they demanded action from the provincial government, Olivero said a meeting that includes both the health and justice ministers is scheduled for tomorrow. Henrika Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
And as you saw, there were some very tense and emotional moments at that protest today. The health minister did step up to the mic to address the crowd. Here's some of what he had to say.
I'm not going to give you promises, but I am going to tell you we are working on answers for you. I know Tina we met with last week. We're meeting with her again tomorrow. One of the things we need to do is break down the silos, because this needs the attention of health, of justice, of CSSD, of education. We need more wraparound services, and we understand that when somebody goes looking for help, whether it's mental health, which is health, it's no different than diabetes. It's no different than cardiac or heart care. Mental health is health. And that is something that, you know, we need to keep pushing because it is health. Addictions is not a choice. It is health care. We need more wraparound services. The length of time waiting to get into rehab, I can assure you we are working on reducing that wait time. It needs to be reduced.
Well, in other news, there's been a death at the province's biggest prison. Officials with the Department of Justice and Public Safety say they were notified of a death at Her Majesty's Penitentiary last night. They're not releasing any details until the death is investigated and the next of kin are notified. World Energy GH2 has submitted an environmental impact statement for its controversial wind farm and hydrogen operation proposed for the province's west coast. The company hopes to build hundreds of turbines at 2 wind farms plus multiple facilities. It's promising a project that will generate clean electricity and produce zero-carbon hydrogen. Here Now's Colleen Connors breaks it all down for us.
The wind energy and hydrogen ammonia project for the province's west coast is now laid out in detail over thousands of pages. The environmental impact document is presented by the company World Energy GH2. And picture hundreds of wind turbines, new facilities and plants, new roads scattering the landscape of the province's west coast. Now take a look at where exactly this is going to go. There will be 2 onshore wind farms on Crown lands. Now, one is on the Port-au-Port Peninsula, the other the Codroy Valley. Now, the plant to convert the power to hydrogen and ammonia will be at the Port of Stephenville. That's 171 potential turbines in the Port-au-Port, 143 at Codroy. Each turbine is 180 meters tall with 76-meter blades, and each site will generate approximately 1 gigawatt of renewable power. Construction of these sites requires hundreds of kilometers of new roads to access the sites and the local highways. 145 kilometers of high-voltage transmission lines will connect the Port-au-Port and the Codroy sites with the hydrogen ammonia plant that's located in the port in Stephenville. Now, producing up to 200,000 metric tons of green hydrogen. The hydrogen produced by the project will be converted into ammonia and exported to the international markets by ships from the port in Stephenville. World Energy GH2 believes that this mega project can create thousands of jobs, and they plan on building a large facility to house up to 1,500 workers in Stephenville and provide things like recreational facilities, canteen, laundry, transportation by bus to the Port-au-Port site. And at the Codroy site, there will be additional space for up to 500 workers. Now, the environmental impact statement states that this project could have potential changes to a very long list of things, but some of them include water levels, fish habitats, rare plants, human health, light, even sound quality, just to name a few. The company's schedule indicates the first commercial shipments of ammonia would commence in 2026. The project has a lifespan of 30 years with an additional year for decommissioning each site. And the project will start with the Port-au-Port wind farm as the primary power source, with the Codroy construction starting in 2025. Well, the government is giving people until October 11th to comment on this environmental impact statement. And the company is offering expert information sessions in Stephenville in early September. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Well, demand for childcare in this province is high, and the Department of Education says it's trying to understand what's needed and where. This morning, Education Minister Crystal Howell gave an update on the province's effort to create more regulated childcare spaces, but she stopped short of saying whether the province would extend pensions and benefits to much-needed childcare workers. Here Now's Heather Gillis reports.
It's Play-Doh time in this pre-kindergarten class at East Point Elementary in St. John's. This is one of 18 pre-K classes open through a pilot program. 17 more will open soon, says the Education Minister, for a total of 600 new childcare spaces. Crystal Howell says 63 new centres run by nonprofits or municipalities are in the works too.
And we have 14 sites in development in the Central East region. We have 24 sites in the Western North Labrador region and 25 sites that are in development here in the St. John's metro region. So big numbers, great things happening.
There's a massive demand for childcare, forcing parents who can't find any to make tough choices. The province doesn't have a handle on exactly how much demand there is, so Howell says the province is going to open an online portal this fall to figure it out, to see where and how much childcare is needed.
We have anecdotally those numbers, but it's not something that I'm really interested in sharing right now because people know their need. They know if they have a need and they communicate that to us, and we're working to address that for everybody.
On top of it, there's a shortage of early childhood educators to provide childcare. This week, Prince Edward Island announced it would create a pension program for ECEs. Howell wouldn't say if this province will follow suit.
Those are conversations that are ongoing.
Today's announcement was mostly a progress update on various child care initiatives that the provincial government has been rolling out. But there was one new thing: money for Francophone child care educators.
In order for us to be able to recruit and retain educators, we have to have something to entice a little, because we can't just find them with people who go to school in Newfoundland. They don't always speak the French. And we also have the added value of the French culture that we teach to our children.
Meanwhile, Howell says since January, 100 early childhood educators have started working. She says there are currently 8,300 $10 a day childcare spots in the province, with 820 of those created this year. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
A woman in her 90s died yesterday when the truck she was traveling in veered off the TCH. It happened near the turnoff to Brigus Junction around noontime. The Holyrood RCMP says 3 people were in the truck. The pavement was wet when the vehicle left the highway and rolled over. All 3 people inside were taken to the Health Sciences Centre. The elderly passenger later died in hospital.
The rain has finally stopped for a good chunk of eastern Newfoundland. At least the rain that we've been seeing over the past couple of days, that's for sure. That has moved offshore. We do have a few showers in the mix, though, for areas towards the northern peninsula, through parts of central, and even rolling into eastern Newfoundland at the moment. But how much rain are we talking about over the last couple of days? Looks like Argentia saw 28.7 millimeters of rain, including yesterday. St. John's West about 16.3. St. John's at the airport 21.2 millimeters of rain, and then Cape Race in fact picked up more rain as we head through the overnight. About 23.5 millimeters has fallen. So we're taking a look at what's going on right now. Most of that moisture was being pulled from the Gulf of Mexico, and if I zoom in a little bit, that moisture that's also got some humidity in it is going to move off. So we've got some much drier air, more comfortable air across the province as we head through the next couple of days. Some sunshine as well. I'll get into all the details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, when you turn on the tap, you expect to see clear, clean water. But for some residents in Botwood, the water can be anything but. Arlette Lazarenko looks at why the town hasn't been able to fix it.
When Sherry Anderson opens up her tab in her house in Botwood, this is what often comes out.
My husband goes outside and runs the hose into the street and runs it for hours. And sometimes it's been days until it is clear. And that's what council has told us to do. We have 3 water filters on our lines. And we also have a water softener. And that still doesn't help.
It's not just her. Other residents have shared their frustrations to council for years, but the problem still continues.
We've had showers where we've gotten out and there's been sand in our hair. It's awful. It's an awful way to live.
Botwood Mayor James Seaver says that the main issue with the town's water supply is its aging infrastructure. Many of the water pipes in town are several decades old, and when the lines are flushed for cleaning or a pipe breaks, it causes the water to become discolored. Replacing all the pipes isn't an option.
This year, unfortunately, our contract prices came in roughly 30% over budget. We've had to go back to our federal and provincial partners to get those projects reviewed because we couldn't afford the over budget amounts. And And now, consequently, these projects may be delayed or maybe even postponed to next year. But over the next 2 years, like I said, we've got $4 million in projects planned to replace some critical parts of our infrastructure.
He expects many years before the issue is dealt with permanently.
It's unfortunately something we've got to live with until we get major modifications or upgrades done to our pipes. And again, it is no different in this town than most towns in this province.
For people like Sherry Anderson, she says she's tired of being told to be patient.
Tons of people put pictures on Facebook and say, it's time that something is done, but nothing is being done. I'm only one person. Together, maybe we can do something.
The water may not look good, but is it safe? The mayor says yes. It's tested every day to make sure it's safe. Arlette Lazarenko, CBC News, St. John's.
Wildlife biologist says fishing nets may be responsible for the death of hundreds of birds off Cape Friels. They were spotted on the beach, and testing didn't find any evidence of avian flu, which has killed birds elsewhere. He says the murres dive for fish and can get caught in the nets.
Probably a cod gill net, and then so the fishermen don't want to catch these birds. It's of no interest to them. It's just a pain in the butt. And what happens when they get a big slug of birds like this, they just pull them out and throw them in the water, and then a proportion of them turn up on the beaches, and I'm sure a proportion of them don't. So we're talking about hundreds of birds.
Well, a lot of people try to retire as early as they can, but not Bob Gulliver. He's leaving Colonial Automotive after 59 years working there. Here Now's Daryl Roberts stopped by.
Hi, this is Bob Gulliver, and I'm retiring today after 59 years.
What was it like working with Bob for the past 45 years?
Bob was an excellent guy to work with. He's go, go, go. Bob was all go. Come in the morning, early in the morning. He wouldn't wait till 8 o'clock. He'd just start right away.
What's it like working with your grandson?
Not bad, because with him, he had to look after me. He was told by Mr. Squires that, this is look after him. Anything heavy, you get it, right?
This is probably the cleanest that the floor's ever been since the warehouse opened however many years ago. So for all of us to put in this effort just to give him a good send-off, it just kind of goes to show like how welcome and loved he is here,
It is the end of an era. Actually, Bob actually started working for us before I was even born. So it's bittersweet for us to be losing him, but because he is such a font of knowledge. Many times we'll sit together in an office and he'll tell me stories of things I never knew about the history of the company and the various people who've worked here over the years.
My son is dead! We're looking for answers and solutions.
I want help.
Well, after Ashley's weather, we'll take you back to the protest at Confederation Building.
Temperatures were cool to start this morning. They're going to be even colder for parts of Lab West, even the risk of some frost in some areas. I'll break the full forecast down for you coming up.
Time for a look at the weather. A bit of a rainy start in the St. John's area today, but the sun did come out eventually.
It peaked out around 4 o'clock today. It looked like outside my window here in St. John's. Temperatures, though, were, a bit cooler than they should be for this time of year. Only topped out at about 17 degrees in St. John's today, 16 in Bonavista. Same thing for Twillingate. Really all along the northeast coast up through Labrador. Temperatures were in the teens today. It did rise up to about 22 in Winterland and 21 in Deer Lake today. Lab West, your temperatures hovered around 13 degrees for most of the afternoon. Taking a look at what's happening right now, temperatures down a little bit, 15 degrees in St. John's. Still a bit of humidity in the air, feeling more like 19 with that humidex. Not so much as you head towards the west coast, certainly not up across Labrador. And as we head through tonight and into tomorrow, we will say goodbye to that humidity, at least for a couple more days, it looks like. Taking a look at what's going on right now, lots of cloud cover up across Labrador, lots of cumulus clouds up across Labrador. And the rain that has been affecting most of eastern Newfoundland has moved offshore now. But if I zoom in a little bit, you can see some of these showers still up across the northern peninsula and parts of the eastern portion of the island as well. Looking at some scattered showers pretty much as we head through the overnight. Now, all of this moisture is tropical moisture. And speaking of the tropics, there are a couple of systems that are affecting or that have developed, I should say. The only one that we're really keeping an eye on at the moment still is Tropical Storm Franklin. Now, I have been seeing a lot of misinformation on social media about potential impacts for Atlantic Canada. It is impossible to tell you right now what is going to happen, in that time frame as we head into next week. So what I can tell you right now, what we do know is that it is currently affecting the Dominican Republic. We are seeing lots of rain associated with this as well that is leading to some flooding. As we head through the next couple of days, the system will track north and then head east by the time we get into Friday. And eventually we'll take another track northward and then northwest eventually. It's going to encounter an environment that is likely going to lead to some intensification of the storm, potentially Category 1, even a Category 2 hurricane. National Hurricane Center has that forecast for Sunday reaching Category 2. But if I take away the forecast models here, this is, or the official forecast, this is a spaghetti plot of the various models that exist to help predict these storms. Now you can see they pretty much have great agreement for the northward turn, the eastward turn, and eventually northward. This takes us up to day 5, so Monday next week. If I zoom out a little bit and continue those tracks further east, there's good indication that we will see an eastward trend, but how sharp is that? And you can see as we get past day 5, the model spread is quite large. So it's really hard to predict this far out what is going to happen. So all this to say basically, make sure you're paying attention to forecasts from either the National Hurricane Center or the Canadian Hurricane Center, because that will be the most up-to-date information. And certainly I will be keeping track on this and will let you know as soon as the forecast becomes a little bit more clear, that's for sure. Now, looking ahead to the next day or so, temperatures will be pretty much into the teens for the most part. We're not looking at a whole lot of things happening tomorrow, actually. In fact, a mix of sun and cloud, the chance of a few showers, particularly in the morning for the west coast, and they will march further eastward as the day goes on. So you're still looking at the chance of showers. It won't be nearly as much rain as we have been seeing, but certainly that chance still there. Up across Labrador, a little bit more unsettled. You'll likely see some sunshine to start in Lab City, but the chance of showers will move in again later on in the day. Temperatures right across the board between 13 and 18 degrees. So let's look at your forecast for tomorrow. We'll look ahead when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. We're going to take you back to Confederation Building, where a protest was held this afternoon. People there shared painful stories of loved ones lost to addiction and the helplessness they felt to stop it. Now, those left behind are looking to government to change the system.
29 years old! He had the perfect job! Just bought a house! You got it! You got that compassion!
The doors no! Twillingate Hospital turned them away!
Now, don't you tell me if you can't give us something to help, you should just step down and go. Yes. Yes. We don't want to say you're going to do. We're
So if you can't get into detox, then you can't get care past detox.
Is not working here.
And I'm telling you right now, if you think that the government and the rest of them don't think that addiction is a choice, I have personal knowledge that there's an awful lot of law enforcement people and an awful lot of government officials who think addiction is a choice. It's an education issue, and it has to be taken right from the bottom.
We want programs, not brochures. Programs,
But
not
as Minister of
brochures.
Justice, who oversees the RNC and the RCP in this province, I don't think we can police our way out of this situation.
This is the real pandemic. This is the real epidemic, and we're sinking, and our government is not throwing us anything to float with. And that is the bottom line. So if you can't sit up there and say what your government is going to do for we the people that pay ye, then you should walk away. Because we're looking for answers and solutions.
My problem is today, I've been suffering mental illness my whole life. I buried a child at the age of 17. I've been admitted into St. Clair's, and I still cannot get a psychiatrist. Still, all these years, I cannot get one. I'm dealing with it on my own. I mean, sick and tired of being told that you could be in my chair. If I could be in your chair, I wouldn't have a problem. So this is what I like to say, is that I want help. Yes, I'm doing this on my own, but I'm crying and I'm begging because I need help.
If you've lost a person to addiction, put up your hand. If you've lost a person, a loved one to addiction. Okay, this is our community. Losing our people to addiction, losing our sons and daughters to addiction is not okay. This is an epidemic that should not happen. Either people have mental health issues, or they have addiction issues, or they have both. And our system does not decipher and treat people accordingly, and that's exactly what needs to happen. Ben did not get the help when he went to rehab at 15.
A lot of these people are not coming back. So let's work for them. So there'll be no more children die because of our neglect. We can all do this, people. Please, neighborhoods, municipal governments, provincial governments of any stripe, work together. We'll work with you.
Yeah, I had this horrible disease, that's addiction, right? I don't know how it found me. I'm well educated. I was working a good career, but it can happen to anybody. And I'm quite passionate about helping people today. I bring a message of hope, I bring a message of love, and I bring a message of change. And the reason I say that is because change is very difficult for people struggling with addiction. Sometimes we can't change things ourselves. We will burn to the ground before we choose to change. And that's why it's so important that we make the decision now. How far do we have to go before we change? Do we got to spend too much money, or do we got to hurt our loved ones, or do we got to see our loved ones actually die before we choose to step in and change? It is so difficult. This disease is rampant in our city, and we have to make the change.
There are some isolated areas that have been having ongoing issues. And when that happens, obviously that's a larger concern and something that needs to be addressed.
Some murky water flowing from the taps in central Newfoundland. I'll speak with the mayor of Grand Falls, Windsor about the cause and the fix after the break. Well, imagine running a bath and brown, muddy water comes from the tap. That's the reality for some residents in central Newfoundland. Earlier in the show, we heard complaints from one Botwood resident who said sometimes she can feel sand in her hair after a shower. Water discoloration is a problem affecting many communities, including Grand Falls, Windsor. Joining me now is the mayor of Grand Falls, Windsor, Manuel. So, Mayor Manuel, can you start off by explaining how widespread this problem is?
Yeah, well, there's no doubt there's some issues of discoloration and throughout the region. Our water treatment plant facility here in Grand Falls, Windsor does serve 5 communities, including Bishops Falls, Botwood, Northern Arm, and Peterview, and Grand Falls, Windsor. We always have some discoloration, and there's a number of causes for that in different areas, but there are some isolated areas that have been having ongoing issues. And when that happens, obviously, that's a larger concern and something that needs to be addressed. But a lot of our brown water, discolored water, has been from, well, there's a construction project going on, a water and sewer infrastructure project here in town, a lot of tear up. So we're seeing a lot of areas with brown water that don't normally get it. We also have a flushing program that we run day and night. We used to do it only in the nighttime. So now in the daytime, I think we're seeing maybe more people noticing the brown water. And normally it should clear up after you run it for a while. I know that's the way it is with my friends and myself included. But some people have these ongoing issues. Again, it's isolated. And I'll tell you that the water in Grand Falls, Windsor is absolutely safe, albeit discolored. And, you know, for us, we want to make sure every household in our town and all towns that we service have clean drinking water. And we understand the frustration, obviously, and the problems that are existing for some folks. And we've been responsive in trying to work with people and residents to try to find fixes.
And you say that the water is safe. How do you know that it's safe?
Well, our water treatment plant, our water is tested daily. We've got a modern water treatment plant with fully staffed, people who have the water technician course and a full-time superintendent there. And when the water is at the plant, it's tested daily. It's tested in town daily. And the province tests our water quarterly, and all the results are available on the government website. You know, we obviously have to make sure that our water is safe for residents, and in this case, the discoloration is the problem, and obviously it is a serious problem, especially if it's an ongoing issue like some are experiencing. But overall, what I'm hearing and what I know is that most of this is from temporary causes, and with a run of water or for a short period of time, you may experience it and then it's gone again. So primarily, the greater Grand Falls, Windsor, and Central Newfoundland area from our water supply is getting good, clean water.
I mean, safe, but still, I mean, you wouldn't want to drink brown water or brush your teeth with brown water or take a bath in brown water.
No, of course not. But again, you know, the vast majority of residents are seeing this, if at all. Some don't see any indication at all. Others are seeing it every once in a while because of a special circumstance. So once you run the water and you see it's dirty, if you wait a few hours, and we do our communication on a regular flushing to let folks know in certain areas that there's upcoming flushing and they can expect discoloration and decreased water pressure and that kind of stuff. So, I don't recommend anybody drinking, and I wouldn't myself, but at the same time, I know I experience the same issue here, and I'll run the water, and I'm drinking tap water right now, but it's when it's clean that I make sure that I fill my jug, and it's rarely that I have any dirty water at all, and that's what I know from most folks in the community. One thing, of course, is that we have aging infrastructure. Our community and all communities has infrastructure. Sometimes it's decades old, and the old cast iron pipes. And as a result of that, you get build up within the water lines, and sometimes that becomes dislodged, or if you get a break, you'll get some debris in the line and it ends up in the system. So overall, we are obviously concerned, and we're doing a lot to try to fix the issues, especially the ongoing ones. But we believe the construction and the flushing program have been, causing a lot of the temporary issues that we're seeing.
Well, Mayor Barry, Manuel, thank you so much for your time today and for explaining all of this for us.
Thank you for the time, and I appreciate the interest. Thank you.
Always like going back to your childhood. Love it. And it won't be 14 years before I get on the next one.
Well, coming up after the break, we take a choo-choo train back in time, all the way back to 1992 for this story about railroad workers riding the train in the Trinity Loop. Well, let's take a trip back to 1992 when a group of former railroad workers dusted off their conductors' caps for a reunion at the Trinity Loop. Former CBC reporter Juanita Berry tagged along.
They say the only difference between men and boys is the price of their toys. These men will pay any price for a ride on a choo-choo train. They're all ex-railroaders. Some of them retired after a full career on the tracks. Others were forced out early when the railway in Newfoundland closed 4 years ago. For most of them, this is the first time they've been on a train since.
Oh, it's like going back to your childhood. Love it. And it won't be 14 years before I get on the next one. How does it feel? Wonderful, wonderful, it's great. I'm having a ball. He said it's like the front of the stove. Great. I'd like to get up there and sit down where he's sitting down. I think I get more speed out of this.
This is the locomotive at the Trinity Loop amusement park. It runs on the only piece of track that's left from the original Newfoundland Railway. And the railroaders thought there'd be no better place to hold a reunion. There's a lot of nostalgia here. There's even a real version of the trains they used to engineer. This used to be a school, a traveling school. This car used to steam around the province, stopping at every station, so railroaders could brush up on their skills.
Everybody feared this car.
Why was that?
Well, the first time you went in there, you didn't know the rules as well. And the last time you went in there 35 years after, you still wasn't sure.
Now this car is a museum for railway memorabilia. Everything from old conductors' hats to signal lamps. Last week, over 200 railroaders passed through this car for a trip down memory lane.
This was your track gauge. Your track had to be perfect by that gauge. If it wasn't, the train wouldn't leave the track.
Well, that's the baggage check, which you punch. If anybody bought a ticket, they had baggage. You punch the ticket with this.
I came from Trinity.
I came from Trinity.
The tools of their trade. Some of them date back to the days before Newfoundland joined Confederation. Over 40 years of history.
This brings back old memories, you know, of the past. There's something, I suppose, sentimental to a point about it, you know.
How's he going, baby? Oh, wait now. I don't want to wait now. Clem. Yeah.
It was a chance to renew old acquaintances and put a face to the names they'd heard of for years. And like any reunion, they swapped stories about the good old days.
He said, how long will it take to make the trip? Well, I said, if you're lucky, around 3 hours. I said, that's the timetable for it. But he said, now, how long could it take? Oh, I said, that's a different story. I said, now, there's toll, I don't know for sure. I said, there's a woman got on the train there and wasn't pregnant. Before she got to Bonavista Vista, she had the baby. he looked at his wife and he said, Elsie, I think we'll make the trip.
But the highlight of this reunion was the train ride itself. Big or small, the railroaders say there's nothing like it.
This is just a ride on the train. They say once a man, twice a child, so I guess I'm at the childhood days now, and I really enjoyed it.
For CBC News, I'm Juanita Barry at the Trinity Loop amusement park.
India made history today by landing a spacecraft on the south pole of the moon. It's the first country to do that, a triumph for India's space program as the craft touched down. India becomes the fourth country to achieve a moon landing. It comes days after a Russian spacecraft crashed on the surface. A rover is now scheduled to explore the uncharted territory on the lunar South Pole. Scientists say it may contain water and ice that could support a future moon settlement. Well, a plane crashed today after leaving Moscow, and Russian authorities are saying Yevgeny Prigozhin was listed as a passenger on board. It's still not clear if he actually was on the plane. Prigozhin is the founder of the Wagner Group, a private army which mutinied against Russia's military leadership in June. Amateur video shows what appears to be the plane crash. The Russian state news agency says all 10 people on board were killed and 8 bodies have been found. Russian President Vladimir Putin appeared to have let Prigozhin off easy in June after the revolt he orchestrated seemed to fizzle. Commentators say that uprising was the most serious challenge to Putin's leadership since he first became president. Well, a Winnipeg family is demanding answers and accountability after they were told their loved one was the victim of a horrific homicide, only to have him show up alive 8 days later. CBC's Brittany Greenslade has the latest.
All I remember is the police standing there at the door when I opened the door.
One knock on their apartment door changed their lives. In the next few moments, Judy Panchenko and her partner Cheryl were told their grandson Peter was dead.
He's been killed. He's dead. And so we cry for a second, and then in a space of a few minutes, we realize that Peter has not just dead, but he's been murdered. He was stabbed, murdered, set on fire.
Police told the couple the 35-year-old's body was found in Point Douglas on April 27th. They were told he was burned and unrecognizable.
As soon as they said where it was, I said, it's not Peter.
Things didn't add up. While Peter is homeless and they have minimal contact with him, they told police they had a Facebook message from him on May 8th, more than a week after the murder.
Hey, Mom, how are you? Sorry I haven't been online for a while. I just got a new phone.
They were told his account was likely hacked. Cheryl says police were adamant the deceased was Peter and dental records had confirmed it. He was missing his upper teeth and had recent facial surgery matching the victim's.
We said, are you sure that this is? And he said 99.9%.
But 8 days later, his dad, Shane Monroe, got an alert on his cell phone when his doorbell camera went off.
I'm looking at the door and there's Peter. He says, I'm not dead, Dad. I says, yeah, I can see that.
The family had been in the midst of planning his funeral.
1 minute you're crying because of what they've said, and then the next minute you're elated because it's not the truth.
They alerted police and then the medical examiner's office.
So do you have any idea what you put this family through?
The medical examiner's office refused an interview request by CBC and would not provide any information on how the mistake happened, but say the situation is rare, if not unprecedented. The family is demanding changes at the medical examiner's office to ensure a mistake like this never happens again.
I don't need a lame excuse. I want to know what truly happened, how you came to the process of identifying Peter, and what measures can go into place so it never happens to another family again.
Police also declined an interview with CBC, but say they took the family's concerns seriously and were still looking for Peter even after the identification was made. Police tell CBC they believe the true victim has now been identified and are working with the family to confirm. Brittany Greenslade, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Check this out. Half a dozen prized pears have sold for a peach of a price at auction in Japan. 5 tons of the fruit were up for bids at the sale, and this box of 6 premium grade Kagaku Shizuku pears pulled down a record 170,000 yen.
That's nearly $1,600 Canadian. The winning bid came from a fruit shop that intends to turn the fruit into desserts. Now that's going to be something yummy, I bet.
Wow.
Now, if you want a regular pear at your local grocery store, they have them for about $3.50 a pound.
Yeah, that's quite the difference in price. $1,600.
Better be a good pear.
Good dessert too. Whoever paid for that, my goodness, wow. All right, so let's have a look at the long range forecast now, heading into the weekend.
We're already looking.
Tomorrow's Thursday
already Thursday, yeah, we're looking into the weekend. Actually setting the stage for a pretty nice weekend for most of us, which is nice. I know it's been pretty unsettled over the last little bit, but let's take a look at what's going on in your forecast. So Thursday evening, still a bit unsettled as far as the potential for a few showers. Shouldn't last too much, but we are looking at some more showers moving in for northern portions of Labrador and the west along a front as we head through the morning hours on Friday. Now, take a look at what's happening across the island. A whole lot of nothing. Actually, lots of sunshine in the forecast. This trough or front will move across Labrador, bringing that chance of showers right along with it as we head into the evening hours. And stick around. But your temperatures are going to warm up a little bit, somewhere in the upper teens, low 20s for pretty much all of the island, even reaching the upper 20s or mid 20s, I should say, for portions of Labrador towards the coast. Cartwright at 24 degrees and then 20 for Happy Valley Goose Bay on the other side of that front. Lots of sunshine up across northern portions of Labrador, about 14 degrees for Nain. Now that shower activity will pretty much stay put as we head into Saturday morning and then spread a little bit further east as the day goes on. A little bit more cloud cover in the forecast for Saturday morning across the island as well. Eventually seeing some clearing, but we will see some showers move in as we head into Saturday evening, especially for the west coast. Now, temperatures up across Labrador back into the teens, so between 13 and 19 across the Big Land. For the island, temperatures between 17 and about 21 or 23 degrees if you head towards the west coast. But again, you will see those showers move in late day. Long range forecast showing a bit of a warm up as we get into the beginning of next week. However, some rain will move in. So Saturday, Sunday, looking pretty nice. 17, 19 degrees, not so humid, but Monday we will return to some rain in about 21 with an overnight temperature around 14 degrees. Now Central will see some more showers move in earlier. So Sunday, it looks like at this point around 20 to 21 degrees, and then for Western Newfoundland a little cooler than that, about 17 or 18, but again unsettled with the chance of showers. For Eastern Labrador, sunny on Sunday. Monday looks about 19 degrees with the chance of showers. And then for Western Labrador, after a few days of showers, you'll actually clear out. So 16 to 18 degrees, which is perfect summer, near the end of summer weather, I should say. Here's your photo. Today, Bonnie shared this shot with us of fishing in Shoal Harbour. She says Capeland Fishing. So nice. Thank you for that photo. If you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, so you can send them to Facebook. But the best place, email them to me at nlphotos@cbc.ca. I know you have photos, and I know you want to see them on the news, so send them.
And so do we.
Yeah, exactly. Send them over.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And that's it for us on this Wednesday.
Yep.
Wednesday evening.
Think about that one.
Wednesday evening. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
Good night.